and thus faced a lengthy trip across London even just to get to her train at Paddington. Seeing she was a little worse for wear, her caring colleagues got her into a cab to take her to the station and then quite rightly settled back into the Blue Angel to continue drinking. An hour or so later, Sarah Nash received a phone call, and from her facial expressions it became increasingly clear that not all was well. It was Jess. She had taken the cab they had arranged, but after a short while had decided that this particular mode of transport was not to her liking, so she had got out and continued on foot. This strategy had not gone well, and now she was lost. Snippets of information were shared with the room as Sarah attempted to talk Jessica down like an air traffic controller in a disaster movie. She's in the middle of the road looking for a bus. She's on the wrong bus. She just found a house party and has gone in to ask for some facts. She's met a tramp. This was not good. What happened next is rather hazy, but according to Alan, Sarah soon lost phone contact with the wandering Jess, but had managed by that time to get on a bus headed to Paddington, thus enabling them to breathe a sigh of relief, forget all about Jess and continue getting pissed off. The following morning, they gathered into work with sore heads and humiliating stories with which to embarrass the worky Jess. Except Jess never made it to work. They tried to call her, but no avail. Eventually a message got through that she had made the 30-mile journey to Reading from London in a cab. Ever thoughtful and considerate towards their colleagues, Barney and Alan immediately phoned cab companies in West London to approximate the cost of said taxi ride. Simply to laugh at how much Jess, who wasn't getting paid anything, must have spent. The figure turned out to be about £70, which due to inflation is about 800 quid in today's money. The following day, Jess did resurface at work, and everybody took much pleasure in her distress. But above all, they were intrigued about the cab ride home. At which point, Jess revealed that she had no idea how she got home, but when she woke up in the morning, she had £100 cash in her purse and no recollection of paying for anything. To this day, we have no idea if she did or did not cough up to the taxi driver, but given that it's unlikely anyone would take the sum of £170 out of the cash machine, the likelihood is that Jess took £100 to pay the cabbie and then walked off. As Alan rightly points out, it's not just the news of the world that breeds sleazy journalists. From that day forward, however, Jessica was known to her admiring colleagues as Boozer Brown. But as she proved in so many areas, Jess proved to be a very quick learner. Not long afterwards, she was a night out with her fellow newshound Chris Curtis, who remembers we were in the back of a black cab when the cabbie slid open the communication panel and passed me a plastic bag. If she's going to be sick, Governor, make sure she does it in that. Don't worry, said Chris. She's an experienced drinker. They stayed out boozing for another 3 hours. And we looked to Laura Weir for further confirmation. Says Laura, once she got so drunk that she fell asleep on her train to Reading and missed her stop ending up God knows where. In fact, she's actually a bit of a pisshead, the phrase that was used, and loves blush rosé. I've been on flights back from trade shows with her when she's been so hungover. That should not be every flight back from trade shows. Despite Drapers being the place to be for a trainee alcoholic, Jessica was ambitious. Shortly after I personally had left Drapers in May '06, one busy weekend at home when I was doing some of my creative writing, or as you might call it, filling in my expenses form, Jess phoned me to say she'd been offered a job on Retail Week. And as her avuncular mentor, did I think she could take it? I asked Jess what she really wanted to do with her career, and she said she wanted to write about retail for the business pages of a daily. Go do a stint on Retail Week then, I counselled. You won't like anything new by Drapers doing another laundry fair in Harrogate. and I'm sure some aspect of DIY retailing might be interesting. And so it came to pass in August 2006 that Jessica made what we must call the walk of shame from the best B2B weekly in the world to another one in the next door office. The rivalry between the two Emap titles was vicious in those days, but her Drapers colleagues gave her an appropriate supportive send-off with shouts of "piss off you treacherous bitch" and "fuck off, we never liked you anyway." Retail Week editor Tim Danaher, who's too upset to come tonight, reveals that he and George MacDonald conducted surreptitious interviews with Jess at Swanky Carluccio's in Smithfield. Well known for its wide selection of blush rosés. Tim told me Jess is even more competitive than the rest of us, so the following year or so saw big Retail Week scoops on fashion brands like Day Berger and Mickelson and Fenright Manson. However, Tim was not too pleased with her return to Drapers after a mere 12 months. And he has the good grace to admit to his eternal shame, her punishment was to have to write a Retail Week property supplement and not to be allowed to join them on their annual jolly to Brighton. I say well done, Tim. Petty, vindictive, small-minded management. Those Emap training courses were not wasted on you. Of course, what Tim didn't know, what Jessica was really missing, was the regular free shoes from her best pal Neil Clifford at Kurt Geiger, and all the other benefits of pouncing fashion freebies from friends in the trade.
Never!
The truth is, she never really settled at Retail Week. That's why she was seen only wearing black clothes every day she was there. Jessica returned to her rightful magazine in August 2007 as managing editor and features editor. How very Emap to get one person to do two huge roles. Yet in no time at all, she'd elbowed her way into the top job, the editorship of Drapers.
Allegedly, Eric.
From August 2009, Jessica was numero uno at the tender age of 31 years. Now, 30, sorry. A famous Musgrave mistake. Obviously it would spoil the evening's proceedings for me to imply that the jammy tart was over-promoted. But all I would say was I had the decency to wait till I was 45 till I got the top job. Just as an aside, we must remember that Jessica has, unbelievably, have a life outside the office, and a number of us were privileged to attend what I presume will be the first of her many weddings, one frosty December in the Midlands. You can just tell the type. Those colleagues who have suffered at the hands of Jessie's eccentric planning regimes will not be surprised to learn that she forgot to organise a change of clothes with her for after the wedding reception. So on the morning after her wedding, she and her groom turned up to breakfast in exactly what they'd been wearing all of the previous day. As many of you know, that marriage that started out in these very promising circumstances foundered quite soon after. And again, it would be quite wrong of me to delve too deeply into the reasons, but I'm sure none of you would want me to list the many reasons why it was all Jessica's fault. But suffice to say that instead of living with Jess, just as an aside, I'm happy to report that Jessica subsequently has ensnared another innocent bloke in her clutches in the form of the very agreeable Martin Teal. The woman who's currently blessed with the title of Mrs. Musgrave was very taken with this young chap when we met him last year. He's got lovely eyes, that Martin, he said. Now this is the sort of drippy things that women say. He's got lovely eyes. What blokes say when meeting a bloke for the first time is, he's got a great record collection, or he's got some cool sneakers. Not, he's got lovely eyes. Anyway, I checked Martin's eyes and I found them to be bloodshot and slightly yellow, indicating the early stages of cirrhosis of the liver. He'd been going out with Jessica for about a month. Now, the veteran Jessica